Hi, welcome to Pace Pilates intermediate class, standing warm-up. Tuck the tailbone, lengthen through the spine, soften the knees. Inhale deep into the ribs. Exhale, take the arms overhead, looking up to the fingertips. Breathe out, rounding your back, tucking down, reaching the hands as low as you can comfortably go into your roll down. Inhaling at the bottom, allowing the head to go side to side, nodding the head forwards and backwards, tucking the chin to the chest, taking a breath in and then exhaling to curl all the way up. I'm showing you two examples, one with the head nod and one with the cradle arms. Do as many as you need. Side posture, just so you can see the length of the spine and the rounding through the back as you go down, trying not to push the bottom out behind you. Ideally, do 3 or 4 of these before starting the class. Taking a breath in, tuck the tailbone, start to curl all the way back up. Side bend stretch, reaching the arm overhead. Inhaling to come up. Exhaling as you reach over, trying to go a little further each time. Both sides. 2 as a minimum. Taking the hands behind your back, widen the feet. Hinge at the hips and fold forwards. Reach the hands over, stretching the chest and squeezing the shoulder blades together. Reach one hand down towards the feet, walking across to the other side, letting your body hang low. If you're tight in the hamstrings, soften the knees here. Going side to side, or you can come across and hold. When you come to the center, hands reach onto the thighs and slowly start to curl yourselves back up. Side lunges, working into the inner thighs. Don't worry about how deep, just watch for the tracking, knee heading towards the big toe. Trying to keep the body as upright as you can. A little tiny tuck in the tailbone so you're in neutral or thereabouts, wherever feels comfortable. We're still warming up. Take it a little lower, send the hands down to the floor, relax the head if you want to, hold the stretch, and repeat on the other side. Shuffle the feet heel-toe to bring them back in. Coming to the back of your mat, one more little roll down, and walking the hands out into our plank position. You can modify this plank if you have problems with your hands or wrists, or you prefer to be on your forearms. And if you'd like to plank on your knees, that's absolutely fine. You're trying to draw your shoulders down away from your ears, tucking the tailbone to lengthen through the back so the tummy does the work. Your option here is to point and extend the foot out behind you, trying not to move the hips as you do so, alternating sides. Repeat 4 or 5 times each side as an option. And then deep breath in, exhaling to push the hips up to the ceiling, sinking your heels down to the floor, bend alternating knees. So you're stretching through the hamstrings. The ears are between the arms, the seat bones are pressing up to the ceiling. Then bend both knees and sit your hips back onto your heels, coming down into child's pose. For the next phase, you're going to need a cushion. So take a moment to grab one, or a rolled up towel will do. For all these exercises, I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Try 10 for each exercise. If you're fairly new to Pilates or you're dealing with an injury, work up. Maybe start with 4 or 5 repetitions and build as you repeat the course. Tucking the chin to the chest, you're rounding your back, using your hands behind the thighs to hold on. Exhaling as you round the back. Inhaling to come back up to your tall seated position, resting on your sit bones. Now we're exaggerating it a little more, so you're starting to extend the arms as you curl back, keeping the curled shape. Bring the chest towards the thighs, lengthen through the back and grow tall. Repeat these for up to 10 times. Extend your legs, place the cushion between your feet or between the ankles, or you can move it all together. Try and sit so that your sit bones are resting on the floor and you feel your ribs right above your hips. If you need to soften the knees because of tight hamstrings, that's fine. Extend the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades together and hinge back from the hips. Breathing out, reach one arm up and out to the side. As you exhale, do the same on the opposite side. Inhaling to return to your tall seated position and folding forward as you breathe out. Inhaling to prepare, exhaling to hinge back. Continue. Remember, you're working up to 10 of these, and it's up to, not essential to complete the full 10. Just give yourselves a challenge. Working now into double arm variation, both arms up and overhead, opening out to the sides and moving above the head. Keep the breathing steady. Think about the shoulders drawing down the back. If the stomach's starting to tremble, you're working hard. Remember, you can soften the knees if you need to. You're working towards 10 repetitions, folding forward to rest at the end of the exercise. Going into your bow and arrow next for a little bit of rotation. Sitting tall, take a deep breath in, reach the arms out in front. Take the fingertips back towards the rib and look back over the elbow. Inhale to return up to tall seated. Repeat the other side. I'm going fairly swiftly through this exercise, but you can take it steady, especially if you find that one side is tighter than the other. Allow yourselves to stretch as you rotate. It's up to you how far back you hinge. Try and keep good form. And that may mean that you only move a small amount. Progressing onto the open arm reach, sweeping the arm through as you finish the movement and come up to tall seated position. The front arm, you'll notice, comes just off center as you reach the back hand out and look to the fingertips. Finish with a forwards fold. Rolling down now onto our back for the next phase. Place the cushion between your knees and lay down onto the mat. Ideally with your back in neutral spine position with a little window underneath the lower back. Taking a deep breath in, take the breath deep down into the rib cage. As you breathe out, tilt the hips and soften the back into the floor. Inhale to come back to neutral spine position. Breathe out to tilt the hips and inhale to come back. Add a little squeeze of the cushion or towel, whatever you've chosen to place between your knees. So as you're exhaling, squeeze the knees together, tilt the back down into the floor. Taking a breath in, we're going to start to add the arms, raising them up to the ceiling and sinking the shoulder blades down and into the mat. Continuing with the tilt of the hips, gently, not forcing the spine down into the mat, just rolling the hips and pelvis forwards and backwards. Add a little overhead raise of the arms. Remember, you're working up to 10 of these. Raise the knees up to tabletop with the knees directly above the hips, ideally in neutral spine. Start to take the knees over to one side and give the cushion a squeeze. Inhale to bring the knees through the center. Exhale to take them the other side. You're aiming to keep most of your hips soft into the mat and the shoulders nice and relaxed. Breathe out as you take the knees to the side. Breathe in as you come back through to the center. Add the arms. Sink the shoulder blades down and into the mat, reaching the fingertips tall to the ceiling. Hold steady through the chest. Keep your gaze up at the ceiling, a little tuck of the chin to lengthen through the back of the neck. You're targeting your obliques, the sides of your waist. We're starting to add a little bit more arm work to really challenge your balance. So open one arm out to the side as you take the knees in the opposite direction. You can follow the fingertips with your gaze, get a bit of movement through the neck. If this feels uncomfortable, just keep your gaze to the ceiling and let the arms move of their own accord. Roll the knees, massaging the back into the floor as a little rest between exercises. Slide the cushion down to between your ankles for the next phase. And you're going to straighten the legs up to the ceiling, softening your back into the mat, imprinted spine. If your hamstrings are particularly tight, you're going to soften the knees over your chest a little bit more. And keep the toes pointing towards the ceiling. So we're still working the obliques, moving side to side, exhaling as the legs travel, inhaling to bring them through the midsection and exhaling to go over the other side. Shoulders and arms are relaxed by your sides. Remember, you're aiming for a total of 10 of these exercises. And we'll start to add the arms to make things a little bit more challenging. Send the arms up to the ceiling, fingertips pointing up, shoulder blades pressing into the mat. You won't be moving as much side to side with your legs extended. Make sure you're exhaling as the legs move side to side. Draw the knees into your chest and roll them round to massage the back. So we're going to work into the lower abdominals. Take the cushion away, or if you prefer, you can leave it between the ankles. Relax the hands down and place the palms facing into the floor. The back is soft into the mat, the knees are right over the chest. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, curl your knees towards your nose, intending to try and lift your tailbone off the mat. Slowly, for a count of 3, lower yourselves back down until the tailbone touches the mat. Remember, you're repeating up to 10 of these. At the end of your exercise, take away the cushion and a single leg stretch to ease everything out. Pull one knee into your chest, slide the other leg away. Take the knee slightly out to the edge of your ribs, as if you're tucking it under your armpit. And then bend the other knee, draw the other leg back in towards you, having flexed your foot to really stretch through the back of the leg. Pull it in and change sides. Flex the foot to extend the stretch and tuck the knee outside of your ribs, heading towards your armpit. And bring both knees back in, plant the feet to the floor. A little bit of work into the upper abdominals. Tuck the chin to lift the head, neck and shoulders off the floor. Pulling from the diaphragm, slide your hands up the thighs As you curl up, inhale to lower back down. We're adding a wide arm stretch at the top, opening the arms out and back in. You'll notice my arms aren't going very wide. It's up to you how far open they go. We're working on up to 10 of these. And just when you're finished, to ease the head and neck, relax down onto the mat and slowly turn your head to one side and gently through the center and over to the other side. You can repeat slowly a couple of times if this helps. We're then going to interlace the hands and take them behind the back of the head, making a cradle to support the neck. Taking a deep breath in, on your exhale, curl up from the diaphragm, softening the back towards the floor. Lift one leg into tabletop. As you breathe out, extend the leg on an angle. Lower the straight leg down almost to the floor. Sweep it back up and then bend the knee. Breathe out as you extend. Inhale to sweep and return back to the start. So my toe just sort of goes out of shot here, but we're going to start adding a circle. So now as you breathe out and extend the leg, stretch it up, sweep a circle and finish at the top. Bend the knee back to tabletop, breathe out and straighten the leg. Sweep a large circle all the way around and finish at the top, bending the knee back to tabletop to complete the exercise. You're working up to 10 of these and you're going to repeat on the other side. So we want to bring ourselves up to seated for the next phase. You can use your leg to help you transition, or you can roll onto your side, or you can curl all the way up. We're going to take the cushion and place it underneath the forearm for a bit of side work. Make sure that your elbow is right underneath your shoulder and try not to slump down into the arm. Create a bit of space between your body and the cushion. Stack the knees and stack the heels. Taking a breath in with your hand to your hip. Breathe out and lift the hips off the mat. The arm has the option to reach up to the ceiling, or you can keep it on your hip. If you feel unsteady, take your supporting hand down and onto the mat. You're trying to lift the hips up and down rather than rolling forwards and backwards. Imagine you had a pane of glass in front and behind you. You're working up to 10 of these. To progress the exercise, we're going to come down and extend the top leg. Reposition if needed, and then lifting the hips and admiring the cat. Stretch your arm up to the ceiling, push the hips off the mat. You're going to lift and lower the straightened leg, holding your sideline. Try and think about squeezing the waist, connecting hips to ribs. Strong out breath as you move the leg, inhaling as it lowers down to the mat. Working up to 10 of these, then coming down into a seated position. And the arm that you were resting on is now going to stretch over your head as you reach towards your straightened leg. And we're going to repeat on the other side. So now we're coming onto all fours. Make sure that your hands are just on the mat in front of you. The cushion has come between your knees. The hands are right underneath your shoulders. There's a tuck in your tailbone, so you're in neutral spine position. Feel as if you're pressing the floor away, so your chest feels strengthened. Tuck the toes, and we're going to breathe out and lift the knees just off the mat. Squeeze and release the cushion, activating inner thighs. Any discomfort in the back, return your knees to the floor and relax. Think about pulling your shoulders down your back the whole way through. Make sure you're maintaining your breathing as you're squeezing and releasing the cushion. We're aiming for 10 repetitions here before we stop and cat stretch it out, pulling the waist up to the ceiling, tucking the chin and tucking the tailbone. And we're going to go again for a next round. Now we come down onto our front. The cushion or the ball or the towel, whatever you've chosen, is going to go between your ankles. Adjust it if you need to once you're laying on your front. And we're working into the bottom and the hamstrings. The hips are trying to stay grounded into the mat. If you have a particularly tight lower back, make sure that you tuck your tailbone very slightly so you're into neutral spine position and your tummy is helping you here. Head is relaxing onto your forearms. We're breathing out to squeeze the cushion and allow the toes to lift off the mat. If this gives you any discomfort in your back, lower the toes and just squeeze the ankles together. Aiming for 10 of these in total. We're then going to remove the cushion, flex one foot, drawing the heel in towards you as if you're trying to stand the foot on the ceiling. Gently soften the hip down into the ground. Take a breath in. On the breath out, push the heel towards the ceiling, allowing the knee to lift. Again, if you feel any discomfort in your back, or this is not feeling like a muscular exercise for you, keep the knee on the floor and just pull the heel in towards your bottom. Aiming for 10 on this side, and we'll repeat on the other side. come into a cat stretch or shell stretch to sink your hips down onto your heels, rounding your back, easing everything out. Do this a couple of times just to counteract the position of the back in the previous exercise. We're going to bring ourselves up to standing for the next phase. Standing tall, tuck the tailbone into neutral, step the feet a little bit wider than your hips. Rest the hands on your hips, rise up onto the balls of the feet. Sink into a low squat. Only go as far as you're comfortable to go. Think about your knee positioning. If you feel any discomfort in the knees, make it a little more shallow. If you want to challenge the balance, you can move the arm position around. Wider arms usually gives you more balance. Hands to hips is slightly more challenging. We're then going to do a standing clam. So bringing the feet close in together, draw one knee up towards your nose. Open the knee out to the side, keeping your hips facing forward. Slide the foot down to the floor. Repeat 3 or 4 times in this position with your hands on your hips. Take the arms wide and keep repeating. There's another variation with your arms overhead to challenge your balance. Make sure you breathe out as the knee opens out to the side. And we're going to repeat with the other leg. Bringing yourselves down now into your plank position, we're going to start with our knees a little wider than normal. And we're sliding our hips back towards our heels, keeping the knees low to the mat. Feel as if you're doing a squat, but this time from your plank starting point. Work up to 10 of these. They're quite challenging on your thighs. Try and keep the back as long and lengthened as you can. The tendency will be to poke your bottom up to the ceiling. Try and glide it back towards your heels. When you've decided you've had enough, maybe you've reached the magic 10, bring the knees down onto the mat and come down into your shell stretch or your child's pose, sinking the bottom onto your heels and relaxing the forehead down to the mat. We're going to come up into seated for the next exercise. The legs are going to come into a V position for our saw stretch. Finding your sit bones. If you struggle with your hamstrings, maybe sit on a cushion or on a rolled up towel, or you can bend the knees a little. Sitting up nice and tall. Extend the arms out. Rotate your body towards the leg and reach the opposite hand to the outside of the ankle. Inhale to draw back up and widen the arms. Go down the other way. We're going to repeat it a couple of times on each side. We're now coming into our mermaid position, bringing one foot onto the thigh and taking the other foot round behind. Try and level your hips as best you can. Turning towards your front leg, place the hands onto the mat and bend the elbows out to the sides as you kick the back leg out behind you. Breathe out as you extend the leg and sink down. Inhale as you rise up. You're working up to 10 of these. Take a counter twist to stretch at the end of the exercise. And then we'll turn to the other side and repeat with the other leg. The counter stretch will be quite tight. Go as far as you can comfortably be. Come back round to the front, open the legs and change over, and repeat with the other side. Coming back down onto our backs, ready for hamstring stretch, climbing the tree. Bring one leg up to tabletop, holding behind the back of the thigh, tuck the chin, lift up from the diaphragm, walk your hands up the tree that is your leg and draw the leg in towards you. Allow the other leg to lengthen away from you. Walk the hands up and down as you bend the knee and return the foot to the floor. Let your head rest down on the mat and repeat again with the same leg before changing over to repeat on the other side. Coming now into some shoulder bridge. Tucking your tailbone, roll through imprinted spine, squeezing your glutes, curl your hips off the floor, leading with the tailbone, taking one vertebrae at a time as you peel up. Breathing in at your highest point, breathing out to roll back down onto the mat. Take your time with these. If you want to challenge a little bit more, add the arms as you start to curl up. A nice mid-back stretch is to add the arms and take them overhead. They stay on the floor behind you as you slowly lower your hips all the way down to the mat. Take extra time here. It can feel a little strange. It's a very deep stretch. Return the arms or curl up with them over your head. Play with what you feel will stretch you the most. We're going to start to add in some heel raises towards the end of this series, working into the hamstrings and into the glute muscles. Start with alternating heel lifts when you're in your highest point of your shoulder bridge. You can do this with or without the arms raised. One heel, the other heel, and then both together. Rise onto the balls of your feet. and slowly lower your hips down to the mat. Rolling back up, still on the balls of your feet, before lowering your heels. Raise and lower both heels at the same time. Feel the stretch into your Achilles and into your calves. Try and engage your glute muscles. Think about the hamstrings in this position, sinking your shoulders down and into the mat. Come into a glute stretch to ease everything out. Place one ankle onto the opposite thigh. Hold behind the back of that thigh and draw it in towards you. Keep the head and shoulders relaxed here. You can do this against a wall if that feels more comfortable for you. Make sure you do both sides to get an even stretch. And then allow the legs to come back down onto the mat. Stretching the legs out away from you along the floor to ease everything out. Coming towards the end of your class. Take a deep breath in, extend the arms up to the ceiling on the exhale, tuck the chin, lift from the diaphragm, and slowly curl yourselves all the way up, folding forwards at the top. If you prefer to roll onto your side, that's absolutely fine. Find a seated position that you're comfortable in for the next phase, just to stretch out the neck. Take one hand up and overhead, gently pulling the ear towards the elbow, stretching down the side of the neck. Allow the shoulder to sit heavy on the side of the neck that's being stretched. Slowly let your head travel back up to the top and change to the other side. Release the head. Bring your head into the center. Taking a deep breath in, relaxing your arms down. Draw the chin down to your chest. Slide the shoulder blades down your back. And very slowly bring your head back up to the top. You've survived. Well done.